factories in Van Diemen's Land, as it was known then, this being just one of them. This site had a lot of history prior to that, and of course went on after that to become a number of other things, but I think the female factory story is the one that most of our visitors connect to. It was a site where women were consigned in between, I guess, job placements. So if they didn't have an employer to go directly to, they would spend time here if they were under the tail end of their sentence. Outside of that, women came here for childbirth. If they'd had a child whilst in the system, which was obviously against the rules, they came here to have the child or to wean the child so that they could then, the child could then move on into the orphanage system. And I guess they were here purely to be assigned out to the local gentry and into the big local properties where they could go and work out the rest of their sentence. So it was a holding station, a hiring depot, a punishment station. It was everything that all the female factories were across the state.
Firstly, Ross and its community have gained significant improvements to a site that in the past was proudly promoted but undervalued by the public through the lack of interpretation. It is now a must-see destination for visitors interested in the stories of Tasmania's early European history.
A lot of the work that Parks does is the kind of work that really benefits community. It's really, no pun intended, on-ground work. And the people of Tasmania can see it and benefit from it in a really immediate way. And that's what we try to do as well. That's what the fund is for. So quite often we do find ourselves partnering with Parks in some way. Thank you.
In recognition of those who contributed to the Ross Female Factory site, we would like to thank Dr. Eleanor Casella, who, if we call loud enough, is over in Manchester, is that right? For her archaeological discoveries that have enriched the female convict story of Van Diemen's Land. These discoveries have in turn provided a sound base for the research and interpretation developed by the Parks and Wildlife Heritage officers.
In the 2007 season, when Eleanor came back to excavate, she was excavating around, I guess, the work areas of where the women were actually stationed. And she uncovered this, which is actually a bale seal, so it's off a bale of wool that the women would have been using to sew up uniforms and things. And the logo on it, or the emblem on it, is actually the commissariat logo. Which, neat connection to the township of Ross, is that the commissariat store is still standing. It's right next door to the wool centre and still bears the emblem of the commissariat office. So we were able to actually connect the wool bales that came to the Ross factory for the women to work on back to where they were stored in the township of Ross. So it's a really cool connection from the archaeology through to the building fabric that's still standing.
Sometimes there's 30 or 40 people go through here of a day. They don't all sign the book, because there's a lot of tourists around then, and they appreciate and they talk to you and ask you things about that.
Especially in the Midlands, there's just a whole swathe of convict places. You know, there's bigger ones like this, but there's properties, there's bridges, there's all sorts of things, and increasingly I think it's worthwhile trying to interpret these well and to link them up so that people can come here and they actually can get the convict story, not just by going to Port Arthur, but then by going, you know, Cascades Female Factory, Richmond Jail, here, Oatlands, and, you know, all the way through, and really find out all the different aspects of it. So yeah, I think it's good value.
That was one thing we struggled with, that we knew because of the archaeological digs how important this place was, but it's very hard to convey that to the general public who would come here and just see a vacant paddock and not see, even at that stage, any panels out on the grass to explain it to them. And so the grants of money have just done a tremendous amount to help develop that and for people to understand as well. You know, by being able to be here in a very quiet setting and read all about it, we've had so many comments come back to the Wool Centre from visitors who've just been blown away by the feeling they get from being here on their own, just with that wind blowing, and just being able to be out on the site and read about the stories of the conditions here. And it's really been very powerful. So.